People kill people and governments kill people.
Only every time.
But Mike, our government would never do that.
Yeah, that's what the Jews said. That's what the Germans said. And then it happened.
No,
We
seriously,
literally just spent 2 hours talking about our government doing that. Literally.
When things are wrong, I'll be by your side. Even when you want to cry.
Stop it. Welcome
Welcome.
Hey, yo.
to the Naked Apple. It's a good thing nothing has happened at all in the last week. So it's going to be tough for us to fill our time with news stories.
The headlines are overwhelming this week.
Only
For once, could they just be whelming?
whelming.
No, you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you just be whelmed?
It's like at work when one of our machines keeps having problems and we ask if it's getting fixed, and the shop supervisor says, well, it only happens intermittently. So are we waiting for it to happen mittently? What?
I have a plan to buy 2 bumper stickers now. One of them says, enjoy the little things. The other one says, that's what she said.
I was waiting for a midget joke, but that works too.
Close enough.
They had me in the first half, not going to lie.
I'm going to put them side by side.
Back to back, they face each other. Yeah. So, since we've got nothing, we should definitely fill some of the time, as we usually do, with your weekly dose of vitamin D.
B.
B.
It's very important to get the correct letter
Sorry,
of
I was
vitamin
just reading
involved.
Dr. Malone and his vitamin D stuff to save your life from vaccine COVID stuff.
Did you know that butter is actually how they discovered vitamins?
Because fat soluble.
Because butter has all the kinds of vitamins?
No,
Dang
because margarine came out and they were trying, like the butter industry was trying to find a way to prove that they were better. And so they did like a breakdown of margarine and butter and like an entire scientific study on it.
Uh-huh.
And what they found is that butter is in fact better because it has nutrients that you need. And the nutrients that you need that are in butter are vitamins. And that was the first vitamin found in butter was labeled vitamin A.
Huh.
That makes sense.
Yep.
And, it's probably also fitting that it happened to come in the very source that actually makes it soluble to your body.
So that is a
Yes.
vitamin A fact.
That's a vitamin A fact. And now on to vitamin B.
Smoothest transition.
Welcome to your vitamin B.
Oh, Sankayo.
My name is not Senka, but
Oh.
that's close enough.
Oh, Sankayo.
We have news for you today in the form of a variety of things.
A variety of things.
A plethora, if you will.
What exactly is a plethora?
A great variety.
It's like an ethera, but it's got a pleh at the beginning. Speaking of pleh, Chuck Schumer warns Buffalo Hat Guy will crawl out of your TV and kill you if you watch Tucker's January 6 videos.
It's a pleh sound, not
Pleh.
with,
Yes,
with the
pleh.
front of the mouth. Pleh.
Pleh. Democrats warn that anyone watching unedited January 6th footage could arrive at unapproved conclusions.
Side effects may include.
And on the other side of the aisle, spooked by January 6th footage, McConnell withdraws head into shell.
Turtle, turtle, turtle.
Not turtly enough for the turtle club. In other inane news about people that nobody cares about, Oscars ratings soar as nation watches in hopes of seeing someone slap Jimmy Kimmel.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Yep. The greatest news to come out of the Oscars ceremonies, Oscar for Best Actor goes to Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. For those of you that I don't know.
For pretending that he's in a horrible war destroying his country.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Back to our political news. We have a handful of remaining articles here for you. First off, the Senate is to now be controlled by whichever party has fewer senators in the hospital. That one strikes a little bit too close to home. Speaking of people that deserve to be in a hospital, Biden assures Americans their bank deposits are safe in Ukraine.
Just put him in an overseas account.
This, of course, coming immediately after he displayed great leadership by calling on banks to stop collapsing.
I mean, brave, really. Just brave.
Yes.
Brave.
Following the press conference that he didn't take any questions at, Biden's administration, via their lovely spokesperson, promised to tax Silicon Valley billionaires on all the money the federal government just gave them. Speaking of which, Silicon Valley Bank has issued a statement assuring its customers that everyone who lost their life savings will receive a free ballpoint pen.
Hey, it's better than nothing.
It is. Much better than nothing.
It's free.
It is, of course, under the stipulation that you use it to immediately sign a new loan with them. And this has been your Vitamin B.
It's lovely, really.
That was a ray of sunshine,
Bright, shining ray.
sparkling straight out of Satan's asshole.
Oh, the world we live in.
Not the heat I was expecting. That's what they mean by brimstone. That ain't no brimstone. My mouth was open and everything.
Brimstone, not brim job. Don't Google that. Whatever you do, don't Google that.
Google that.
Do not.
That being
If you
said-
don't know what that means, just accept the fact that you're the only one not emotionally scarred by what I just said and move on.
Okay.
And if you type it in exactly as Mike said, do not click on the suggestion. Did you mean? No. There are women and children present. No.
There are toys present.
There are things I would Google, but I can't because there are preschool toys present.
That's what preschool toys. Preschool toys present.
Well, that was good.
You're welcome.
Good to get all the laughs out before we get into things that aren't laughable.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that there's anything that's not laughable anymore.
I mean, we do.
Our entire world is a joke.
We live in a clown world. Yes. That being said, I don't really laugh all that much at circuses.
It's to the point now where on social media, whenever I see something that's like, "Oh, aliens are coming to take over the world," or they spotted UFOs and they're here to enslave us, and whatever, my response is, "Finally, gosh, damn."
My response,
it's about time.
My response to a lot of stuff, even conspiracy theory type things. So I was hearing someone talk about on Netflix. You remember that Malaysian flight that just disappeared?
Oh yes, yeah.
Like, was it 5-10 years ago?
Yeah,
Vaguely.
So yeah, there's this. I guess there's this whole Netflix thing on it, and they talk about how
370.
Yes,
Flight 370. Yeah.
They start talking about how it was most likely shot down by the U.S. government because they didn't want the technology that was on board the plane to get to China or something like that. And like 5 years ago, if I heard something like that, I would have went, nah. But as I'm hearing him talk about it, I'm like, huh. That's turned into my general response to hearing anything is, huh.
I'm still like, I mean, we're basically just selling the entire country to China, so why not?
Right.
Like,
right. But with all that, because there's something in here that's the pipeline. I think I put it in here. If I didn't, then shame on me. No,
fool me
I
once.
did. I did put it in here. But yeah, so, and it's one of those things we're reading through it. It's just like, huh. Anyway, the bad batch, the bushel for this week. The intro is something.
Well, pardon me, young man, and excuse the shit out of my goddamn French, but did you just threaten me?
Fitting.
I'm good at what I do. I don't do a lot, but I'm good at what I do.
This week's bushel is sponsored by, and when I say sponsored, I mean we're not paid at all for this, but I think it's worth noting, a new movie coming out that has been described as the Screwtape Letters and the Exorcist have a baby, and this is what you get.
That's fair. It's a fair assessment.
Nefarious is coming to theaters April 14th, and this is the trailer for it. If my mouse would go over to the play button, it won't.
Hello? You should have accepted my offer, James.
Execution scheduled for 11 p.m. But he's trying to convince us he's gone insane.
And therefore incapable of being executed.
I need you to prove he's faking it.
Edward? Let me ask you some questions.
I'm not Edward. I'm a demon.
Demons aren't really a thing. What happened to Edward?
We own him.
We?
He's a master manipulator. You have your head so twisted around you think you're the killer, not him.
Then give me something to make me believe you. Prove to me you're a demon.
It's probably just a coincidence.
I want to talk to
The real
Edward.
makes me do that. I can't stop him.
I need you to see something. You got a fan. Did the same thing with all his victims.
Help me!
I'm trying to, Edward, but you have to answer my questions. You have to tell me the truth.
It won't let me!
It can go away. It can go away. Yes?
No. It's starting to happen. Can you feel it, James? Can you feel it? I think it's time We tell you exactly what it is that we'd like you to do.
There you go. There's that. Nefarious.
Thanks, Satan. It's subtle, actually.
Yes. On the
So what's your read on that, Trevor?
pretty good. Pretty good. The
Rated R for some violent content.
the fallout from January 6th, Tucker Carlson was granted access to the thousands of hours of footage that has been kept from the public, and people are upset that he showed what was excluded from the public, including a list of Republicans and of course, Democrats. Judges involved with it and prosecutors involved with it are very mad that he showed footage that's detrimental to their case.
You mean the truth goes against the narrative?
Yeah, the footage that he's showed so far focuses on three specific talking points: the QAnon shaman, Officer Sicknick, and Senator Hawley. All of which showing more footage than what was originally shown, and somehow that was wrong to show more context.
Your Honor, I object!
And why is that, Mr. Reed?
Because it's devastating to my case!
Overruled.
Good call!
Good call, exactly. Along with that, one of the Republicans that isn't caving is McCarthy, and he was
Shockingly.
I know. It's a nice change of scenery to see McCarthy actually, care. And this was his response to reporters asking him about it.
The police chief and the Senate Republican leader both raised concerns about the footage that you gave to Tucker Carlson, the way he portrayed it. He portrayed it as a mostly peaceful day. Do you have concerns with that portrayal?
You asked the same question yesterday, and let me walk you back through that. The Capitol Police Chief, we went to them and asked, is there any clips in the process of where you see, tell us any warnings? He only had one, and we cleared it up. Lo and behold, Swalwell had already put that clip out on the internet for the last year and a half. I'm not sure if you asked, based upon any of those, about what you did with CNN. When CNN told where the leaders were taken, a secret place where they told us we couldn't even tell people. I know, and I'm answering your question. You can ask whatever question you want, but I have the right to answer your question.
Mr. Speaker.
I'm answering his question, thank you. When CNN told the American public that we were at Fort McNair, I don't know if we can go back there. I don't think that's even changed. But you have now told your network, the entire world, where we go. I didn't hear one question from your network either when you would know when subpoenas were released before anybody else. I didn't know that your network got upset when you sat in Statuary Hall when nobody else networks got anything. And I'm not sure your network got upset either when you had the Speaker of the House daughter do a documentary filming where we are in a secure place, walking through this when people weren't supposed to know. So now you're upset that we allowed somebody else just to have transparency. Now you are the Capitol Police was able to see it, and you know what the Capitol Police told us too is that January 6th committee never asked them. So I thank you for your question.
Boom.
Well,
Boom.
you actually do have a spine.
Wow. Now, if only he'll keep it. A spine, if you can keep it. Related to that, the FBI, a poll found that most Americans think the FBI has been politically weaponized.
Yes.
No.
What?
A little flashback. USA Today wanted to let people know via fact check that the FBI was not involved with January 6th. Any claims about that are false. This last week, in the bludgeoning that the FBI got, it was revealed that they actually not only were involved, but were actively trying to destroy and hide evidence of its involvement in court cases.
Well, that's horrifying.
It's only a felony. And throws out any court case supposed to, anyways. Remember, and another callback to a couple of years ago when Bank of America volunteered purchase information to the FBI to help them find people that were in and around D.C. And the FBI happily accepted it without a warrant. A whistleblower has come out last week and said the Bank of America put people who made firearm purchases at the top of the list. Oh.
Oh, well, isn't that comforting?
Oh. The FBI also admitted in a hearing that they have purchased location information without a warrant in the past, but they have assured politicians that currently...
Wait, like phone GPS?
GPS location.
Location.
All that kind of stuff.
I was told that that information is unreliable.
It is unreliable unless, of course, it's reliable.
Well, then why did they want it? Is the question. Just kidding. That was a.
And the FBI has also been working with hospitals to get information without a warrant to help them target gun owners and strip them of their firearms. And for some reason, after all of that, Visa and MasterCard have decided that now is not a good time to track firearm purchases.
Yeah, they were going to do that like on a wide scale, like
Yeah.
on a countrywide or maybe even international wide scale.
For
And
some-
they're like, oh, never mind. We're not going to do that.
For some unknown reason, they decided to put a hold on that. And it also turns out that, you remember that first batch of documents that Biden got that were classified documents at Biden's Penn State?
Oh, yeah. The classified documents that Biden has been
Well, it was
found
just
in multiple
it was
locations.
just a few sheets of paper that were found. It was no big deal. Well, it turns out that the day before the FBI told them that they're coming to look at it, not raiding his place, but told him, hey, we're coming on this day to look at your stuff. The day before, they moved tons of documents to Biden's lawyer's office, in which there were 9 boxes of classified documents.
9 boxes of classified documents.
That they moved the day before they knew that FBI was going to
Boxes of documents.
Boxes of classified documents.
I'm sorry, guys. It was unintentional. We accidentally left boxes of classified documents at my house,
just
at my son's house, at my lawyer's office, and how many other places did we find?
I don't know.
Anyway, just
China.
At my Ukraine suite. I'm just making stuff up at this point.
Allegedly.
But like multiple places, and these are boxes. You can't accidentally move half your stuff out of your house.
And in other Alphabet agency news that needs to go, the IRS is using Biden's Equity Action Plan to target whites, Asians, and mixed races with audits. So if you're not white, not Asian, and not mixed race, congratulations, you're basically never getting audited under Biden's IRS.
Dang it.
That being said, if you are white, are Asian, or are mixed race, and you get audited, congratulations, you now have a fine lawsuit on your hands that you'll, well, depending on which judge you get, you could win. U.S. intelligence agencies are absolutely not making things up at this point with the Russian pipeline blowing up. The New York Times reported that they know that it was a pro-Ukrainian group, and they know that the group really hates Putin, and they know that they were really good at diving, and they know that they use some sort of yacht or something to get out there, but they don't know who they are. We know everything about them. We just don't know who they are. Oh, okay. And the Federal Trade Commission is looking to expose any journalists and their sources because of the Twitter files. They want to know who Musk was sharing documents with, because that's not against the law.
Okay, the Federal Trade Commission, remind me what they do?
Yes.
So they're a federal agency. Sweat.
Yes, that's all you need to know.
Okay.
It's a federal agency, and it needs to go.
I'll go with that.
On the CCP virus front, in the first time in at least recent history, if not all of history, both chambers of Congress unanimously voted in favor of a bill.
That means all members of Congress
Every
voted the
single
same
one
way,
voted
right?
yay. The Senate
Okay.
and the House. That bill was from Senator Hawley, who wants to declassify all COVID origin documents. and every single Democrat and Republican voted yay. Yes. After that vote, Hawley sent a letter to President Xi in China telling him, yeah, the gig is up and we're coming after you. Unless Biden vetoes. But again.
Oh, he's thinking about it.
Yeah,
All members of Congress today voted unanimously, but Biden's like, maybe I'll vote no.
Maybe I'll vote no. And then Fauci responds in the most Faucian way possible.
What does the science have to do?
By
have to say today?
clearing up. That's not the right one. That's the right one. By clearing up what it actually means by lab leak. What does lab leak actually mean? And now it doesn't want to play. That's convenient.
Well, if I were Dr.
Convenient.
Fauci, I would ask what the definition of is.
Depends on what your definition of is. Thank you, Bill. Here you go. Fauci's response, clearing up what it actually means by lab leak. Lab leak.
That's a very good question, Jim. So one of the things that people maybe don't fully appreciate, that all of the intelligence agencies agree unanimously that this was not engineered. Namely, they didn't deliberately do this to make a bioweapon. Everybody agrees with that. No matter what your prior thoughts were, everybody agrees with that.
Except for the FBI.
A lab leak could be that someone was out in the wild, maybe looking for different types of viruses in bats, got infected, went into a lab, and was being studied in the lab, and then it came out of the lab. But if that's the definition of a lab leak, Jim, then that still is a natural occurrence. The other possibility is someone takes a virus from the environment that doesn't actually spread very well in humans and manipulates it a bit, and it escapes or accidentally infects someone, and then you get an outbreak. Those are the possibilities when you're talking about lab leaks.
But are there any accounts of that occurring where one might say, okay, well, there we go. Perhaps this is it. This is what happened.
No.
That you're aware of.
In fact, there are no lab leaks that have led to pandemics. So there have been accidents in a lab that happens
Anyway.
He's talking about all the possibilities based off of nothing.
Yeah. So that is your rundown of this week's bushel of apples, I guess.
I think there's a lot in there. I think we should go through those articles one by one. I think they're all important. What do you say, Mike?
Sure.
We can skip like a couple.
He's so alive over there.
I mean, it's the same stuff we've been talking about for 6 months. It's all the same.
It's all the same, just more confirmation.
It's just more of it
about it. I think. One thing I forgot to mention with the Tucker Carlson thing is the blatant editing that the January 6th committee did was so bad that even progressives are saying, conservatives, I'm so sorry.
That one's worth talking about for sure. I mean, most of these are worth talking about. I'm a little jaded.
I'm a little jaded.
It's literally like a half of this stuff is stuff like we said this on January 6th.
I guess
like the day it actually happened. We talked about all of these things.
Yeah.
We've been talking about them for friggin' 2 years now.
Yeah, there's videos coming out now that shows Antifa absolutely was there and antagonizing the police and the crowd and breaking in windows.
Oh yeah. And the clip that I shared of them actually dressing up, like preparing to dress up as Trump supporters.
Dressing up as Trump supporters.
We saw a video of that.
And posing as reporter or Trump posing as news outlets, mainly on the conservative side, to get people to answer questions and stuff. I'm certain that breaks some sort of law.
I'm certain it does.
If not, the organizations they pretended to be part of can sue them for doing such things.
Yeah.
I think the biggest the biggest thing for me out of the January 6th stuff was a judge. A couple of things. One of the judges involved, Boasberg, a defendant was asked that they can submit this new footage as part of their defense. And the judge said no. His reason why is that it could derail dozens of trials that are already set in the next few months.
The ones that should be derailed because they're all bullshit?
Yeah, if I do it for you, then I have to do it for everyone else, and we have to throw out every single case.
Because here's the thing about evidence. You can only use it when I say so.
Your Honor, I object!
And why is that, Mr. Reed?
Because it's devastating to my case.
Sustained.
Sustained. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, so there's that. Then, this one just blew my mind. Benny Thompson, he was the chairman for the January 6th committee. He said that he doesn't think any of the January 6th members themselves ever had access to the footage. They let only staff view it. I'm actually not aware of any member in the committee who had access. We had a team of employees who kind of went through the video.
And these are Congress people?
These
are just
the people that we elected to be there that are supposed to do stuff didn't do stuff and put people on trial because of it.
So these elected officials who are responsible for like investigating this January 6th stuff, because like part of their responsibility is to judge things.
To investigate.
They didn't actually look at the evidence. All they knew was Trump was bad and his followers are bad, and they need to prosecute Trump and his followers.
Hold up. There's something really, really important in that article.
Which one? This one?
The one, yes, this one about the January 6th committee.
This is from American News, January 6th committee chairman.
I'm looking at the post-millennial one.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. So post-millennial, right? Let's see, where was it? Let me see, where'd it go? Here it is. So Benny Thompson said that lawmakers were never given that type of access to the footage last Congress. It's strictly a new policy that the new speaker has put in place, he told CNN.
Yeah. So Nancy Pelosi blocked the January 6th committee from reviewing the footage that they had to review to prosecute people via the January 6th committee. The only footage that they looked at was whatever their aides or whatever gave to them, which Tucker Carlson blasted out of the water by showing just a few seconds before and after some of those footage. Or in the case of the QAnon shaman, showing him walking around the entire Capitol with police escort, with the police opening doors for him and checking locked doors to try to find an unlocked door for him to get through.
Yeah, Capitol Police.
And he's serving 4 years in prison because he was escorted through the Capitol by Capitol Police.
Yeah. Do you have the clips of him doing that, Trevor?
Yes.
So yeah, this is something I find absolutely shocking. The QAnon shaman, he was the face of January 6th, according to the media narrative of January 6th.
Yeah.
And it turns out, I don't even remember any violent clips. All I've seen from the media are just pictures of him posing, looking all smug or something like that. And so I'm not starting to think, it's looking like he is being demonized in the same
Completely
way that Nick
scapegoated.
Sandman
Yeah.
and
Yes,
and
like
Kyle
Sandman.
Rittenhouse
Yes.
were. I don't even know like what he did wrong.
He was demonized much better than either of those two were. Because
Yeah.
it's been a narrative for a couple of years now.
This time around, they have full control of the footage.
Yes.
Whereas,
And by the way,
other
we,
ones, they did
we
not
would,
have
Tucker
that
never
control.
would have gotten this footage had we not won the House in
No.
2022.
Oh yeah.
And
no.
this was not part of the things in the getting this footage was not part of the Freedom Caucus's stipulations.
Nope.
This wasn't something.
Oh, so McCarthy did this out of his own backbone.
Yes.
Oh, well, good for him.
Yes, McCarthy actually stood up and did something worthwhile.
And I'm willing to bet
that is admirable, to say the least.
Well, I am pleasantly surprised.
I would not be surprised
really
if he did this because he looked at, like you pointed out in that article, he looked at that and saw, oh, these guys have never even looked at it.
Right.
I'm going to give it to someone they hate. Who do they hate? They hate Tucker Carlson.
Anyway, yeah, go ahead and show the clip. Which one?
Strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Which one is this one? Is this the?
This is the Tucker Carlson.
The Tucker Carlson
actual
one?
Tucker.
Okay, go ahead.
These are the pictures you've seen of January 6th. They're familiar because they've been playing on a loop on every media outlet in America for the last 2 years. There's a reason for that. But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen. And that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th. More than 40,000 hours of surveillance footage from in and around the Capitol have been withheld from the public. And once you see the video, you'll understand why. Taken as a whole, the video record does not support the claim that January 6th was an insurrection. In fact, it demolishes that claim. And that's exactly why the Democratic Party and its allies in the media prevented you from seeing it.
But he's portraying it as a peaceful thing. No, he said it's not an insurrection.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying, is it's not the insurrection you're saying it is.
By controlling the images you were allowed to view from January 6th, they controlled how the public understood that day. They could lie about what happened, and you would never know the difference. Those lies had a purpose. They created a pretext for a federal crackdown on opponents of the Uniparty in Washington.
Our office wanted to ensure that there was shock and awe, that we could charge as many people as possible.
The first thing you notice from viewing the full video record of January 6th is just how many people entered the Capitol building that day. Hundreds and hundreds of people, possibly thousands, over the course of about 2 hours. The crowd was enormous. A small percentage of them were hooligans. They committed vandalism.
And they need to go to jail for that.
Again and again. But the overwhelming majority weren't. They were peaceful. They were orderly and meek.
Pick up some of these brochures.
These were not insurrectionists. They were sightseers. Footage from inside the Capitol overturns the story you've heard about January 6th. Protesters queue up in neat little lines. They give each other tours outside the Speaker's office. They take cheerful selfies and they smile. They're not destroying the Capitol. They obviously revere the Capitol. They're there because they believe the election was stolen from them. They believe in the system. Here's the man you've heard referred to as the QAnon shaman outside the Senate chamber.
Oh,
These are
he
not
wasn't
rioters.
keeping right. That's
These are
what it
people
was.
who wandered over from a
Signs
political
that
rally.
keep right. He was on the left.
Not let
Good
them
advice for everyone.
silence your voices.
After the rally, they walked down Pennsylvania Avenue, where organizers had secured a federal permit to hold a legal rally on the grounds of the Capitol.
Oh.
I know that everyone here will
they
soon be
were allowed
marching
to.
over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Once at the Capitol building, things began to get chaotic. Capitol police officers fired tear gas into the crowd. A few at the front of the herd broke windows. Someone opened the doors, and many hundreds of others just walked in.
We're gonna make that the story.
Of course, they did make it the story. And at the center of it, the single most famous person arrested that day was a Navy veteran from Arizona called Jacob Chansley, often referred to as the QAnon shaman.
Navy veteran, I didn't know that.
QAnon shaman.
Someone named Q Shaman.
Jacob Chansley became the face of January 6th, a dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison, far more time than many violent criminals now receive. What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment? To this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building. But according to our review of the internal surveillance video, it is very clear what happened once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show the Capitol Police never stopped
following him
Jacob
around
Chansley.
the whole time.
They helped him. They acted as his tour guides.
Now in front
Here's
of him,
video
checking
of
the door.
Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol
Let's
police
try over
officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley.
So, if I'm not a police officer, but I know a little bit about police training. And one of the things I know is if you believe that someone is a threat in any degree, as a police officer, you do not turn your back to that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
they
the
did
footage shows
multiple
just
times.
that.
Yes.
So clearly they were not under threat. Jacob Chansley was not armed.
And
he was
now-
not violent. And he got 4 years in jail.
Now Fox News is being rude and we've lost our spot. But anyways, you get the point.
Yes.
So yeah, so there's that. So they didn't even look at the footage, and now they're not allowed to use the footage in their court hearings. And this QAnon shaman, he's not allowed to appeal his thing using this footage. He wasn't given access to the footage at all. His lawyer wasn't even given access to the footage.
So you're saying that the footage that we just watched was intentionally withheld by the DOJ because they wanted to maintain their false narrative?
Yes.
Ugh.
Which last I checked in U.S. law, if you intentionally withheld evidence from a court, the trial is thrown out.
I don't think people realize what this means.
Right.
If the Justice Department, if the DOJ and just judges and the justice system in general become so dysfunctional that they are not interested in justice, they are interested in a narrative. The reason why the Justice Department is so essential is because it relieves the community, like just the general populace, from seeking their own justice. If we cannot trust the Justice Department, that means that the populace will take justice into their own hands because they have no other choice.
This is how you get vigilantes.
This is how you get insurrections, guys.
It's almost as if it's what they want. Because just about the only thing left that's keeping us from facing whatever kinds of ish they have in store for us is the Second Amendment. And if an actual insurrection, quote unquote, does happen, guess what happens to your firearms? They gone. So I would not. It's one of those things where you get to the conspiracy end and you're, huh.
But no, this is exactly what I'm saying. Is like if they want to prevent insurrections so bad, like they need to, like, hold up the justice system.
Right.
This corruption, it will have terrible consequences. I do not think that the people that uphold the system at the moment understand how dire their lives are going to be if they keep this up.
Or they do understand. Either way, it's not a good answer.
Anyway.
The other one that's really big is Naomi Wolf.
Yeah.
She's hardcore liberal, progressive writer. I think she's written for CNN or something like that before too. But on her Substack, she wrote, "Dear conservatives, I apologize." And it's not tongue-in-cheek. She says, "I owe you a full-throated apology." She said, "There's no way to avoid this moment. The formal letter of apology from me to conservatives and to those who, quote, put America first, end quote, everywhere. It's tempting to sweep this confrontation with my own gullibility under the rug, to move on without ever acknowledging that I was duped, and that as a result I made mistakes in judgment, and that these mistakes, multiplied by the tens of thousands and millions on the part of people just like me, hurt millions of other people like you, all in existential ways. But that erasure of personal and public history would be wrong. I believed a Fargo of lies, Fargo of lies, and as a result of these lies and my credulity, she's definitely a writer, she's using big words, and the credulity of people similarly situated to me, many conservatives' reputations are being tarnished on false bases. Yes. She goes on to call out fact checkers for things they were blatantly wrong on. She said there's no way to unsee Officer Brian Sicknick, claimed by the Democrats in leadership and by most of the legacy media to have been killed by rioters at the Capitol that day, alive in at least one session of the newly released video. Yeah. Yeah, they're still holding on to that, though, too. It's 5 police officers died because of the riot. No, actually, not a single police officer died that day. Not a single one.
Yeah.
There's Officer Sicknick that died 2 days later. We now know from a stroke, which the coroner said was unrelated to any injuries he received that day.
But also noted that he died in the line of duty.
Somehow. In his house.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other officers committed suicide.
It's very, very similar to the way that somebody dies in a motorcycle accident, but it's marked as COVID.
Yes.
Fascinating how that works.
Yeah, the other officers committed suicide. And of those, I'm questioning as to why they committed suicide because
they had information about the Clintons.
or they knew they had been backstabbed because
were they tied to a tree and shot themselves with a shotgun,
then threw it 30 feet away.
Because
there's videos that's come out of officers that are upset because they see this giant crowd and they're saying, we've been set up. And other officers going around the Capitol on the radio frantically trying to call for help and backup and trying to get information from the leadership of the Capitol Police and getting zero response from the leadership on what's going on and what to do. And these officers committed suicide because they're so traumatized by the rioters, or did they commit suicide because they had information of behind the scenes, or they felt like they were absolutely backstabbed by the institution they thought they were protecting?
Yes, one of the above.
The only people that died that day, the first casualty, I believe, was oh dang it, I just forgot her name.
The rioter that died?
Yeah.
I don't recall her name either.
Dang it.
Rachel something, wasn't it? Dolezal. Rachel Dolezal, wasn't it?
No.
Dang it.
No, that's not it.
That's the lady that pretends she's black.
Oh, dang it. That's so funny. I remembered the wrong name.
I almost had it when you said that, too.
Ashley Babbitt.
Ashley, yes.
Babbitt.
That's the one.
That's the one. Oh,
she was the first casualty, and the officer that was involved with shooting her is still working for Capitol Police, even though he violated all the rules of engagement for Capitol Police. The second casualty, if I got my timeline right, was a lady in the tunnels. She got choked out from the gas from the tear gas that the police were firing into the tunnels, which is also against any police force's policy to fire tear gas into a confined space, because then it's not acting as a tear crowd dispersal agent; it's acting as a weapon.
Yep.
Chemical weapon.
And they did it anyway.
And they did it anyway. Multiple canisters, and this lady, unsurprisingly, started choking out on it. And one of the guys that's in prison now was defending her from the police who were trying to beat her to death as she was on the ground being trampled and choking. And the police came over and started beating her with batons. And the people that tried to intervene between police and her, they tried to get her to police so she could get medical help. But the police pushed them away, then started beating her. And then they came back and pushed back against police to try to save her life. They are now in prison because they tried to save somebody's life from unjust actions of the police. The third casualty that I know of in this timeline was a guy that was in the crowd. Crowd was doing nothing. Violent stuff had started happening in other parts of the Capitol. This part of the crowd wasn't doing anything. They weren't pushing against the fences. They weren't yelling at the cops. They were just kind of standing there because they were at the spot where there was supposed to be speakers and stuff like that for their legally registered time to be there. And all of a sudden, the police started launching tear gas into the middle of the crowd and flashbangs into the crowd.
Well, that would get a crowd riled up.
Yeah, not only did the crowd get riled up, but an elderly gentleman fairly close to where that went off suffered a heart attack and died.
And he was part of the protesters.
He was part of the protesters who weren't actually violently protesting. They were waiting for their whoever was speaking to come and speak. Those are the three casualties.
Could we just get new journalists? Could we just have all of them just stop and then just other people come in and do their jobs all over again?
Yeah.
What happened to the days where journalists wanted to be the first to like expose a truth that the public didn't know yet and then break that story, whereas now they're just going lockstep with a narrative?
It started about the time of Woodrow Wilson. That's about the time that you started getting the correspondence dinner where it was the best thing you could do as a journalist was to get invited to the White House correspondence dinner. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good read from Naomi Wolf of someone that's absolutely been on the other side this entire time until Tucker Carlson coming out and saying, yeah, what we've done is wrong. This whole thing is wrong.
Yeah.
While also still pointing out the things where she still disagrees, but definitely not as sternly disagreeing as she did before.
I still can't get over the judge denying the footage to be used in evidence.
You can't use that.
Again,
why not? Because then everyone else will get to use it.
And we need to prosecute them as political prisoners.
For crying out loud. It's only been 2 years.
The way it will destroy the justice system's credibility, I fear for the consequences of that.
Yep.
Because they have to uphold justice. That is their job.
It'll only be California and Oregon and Washington everywhere. Did you see Seattle? Walmart's pulling all of their stores out of Seattle.
No. I think it's Portland.
Portland,
which is right next to Seattle.
Yeah.
It's they're borders. Anyway, how do you lose Walmart? I thought Walmart could survive war or something.
They're like a cockroach.
Yeah, the only thing that it survives a nuclear holocaust are cockroaches in Walmart.
Basically, because what else are you going to loot during the nuclear holocaust if there are no more Walmarts?
But you figure out a way to lose Walmart because the way that you enforce crime is total garbage.
Look, we're Walmart. We understand there's a lot of petty thieving that goes on around here, but it's just too much of that here in Portland for us to continue to do business. Wow.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, you'll get that everywhere. Or like California, where they were having troubles with people robbing the trains leaving the ports.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then on the FBI front, they withheld 338 items of evidence.
Which article is this?
The Western Journal. Yeah, they withheld 338 items of evidence in the Proud Boys case. Yeah. Can we see what that evidence is? No. Oh. Well, can we get the case thrown out? No. Oh. Oh, okay, so we're political prisoners? Yes. Yes, you are. And they wonder why they're... people think that they're being weaponized. Yeah. Then double check with your banks, I guess, is the moral of the rest of this. And if your doctor's asking you any questions related to firearms, don't answer them.
Ever.
Ever.
Yep. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Uh-huh. In a court of law? No, just against you.
Just against you. as proven by...
You just gestured towards everything.
I'm thinking more about the January 6th footage, the media narrative, the original narrative, where it's like, oh, look at this violent crowd. They threw tear gas into the crowd. Like, I feel like you could
and then bitched when the crowd was upset about it.
I feel like
it's one thing when the crowd is actively going after you and then you fire tear gas and the crowd still goes after you. That's one thing.
Yes.
When the crowd is just standing around
and you throw tear gas at them, and then you're surprised when they're mad.
Insert shocked Pikachu face meme.
Like, I feel like if your goal was to get selectively edited, you could go to any sporting event or any, like, basically any event with a crowd. The pro-life march, for example. If you were to try to get selectively edited footage to see a crowd riled up, you could probably get it at any of the. In fact, Nick Sandman, he was a good example of that. That was happened at the pro-life march, you know, and they tried to convince everyone that he was racist or whatever, but it was all just selectively edited footage with a lot of narrative behind it, and it caused the public to believe. Like, I bought into that narrative when it first happened, you know, and then after the additional context came out, I don't even remember how on earth I believed the original narrative, but I totally bought into it.
Right.
Oh, dude, I had friends over the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing. That they were like, I can't believe you're on his side, and I'm literally sitting there watching the videos, and they're like, you should watch the videos. And I'm like, I have the videos. Like, I have the entire clips, like the original clips. I went and found the original videos, not the shit they air on the media, but the original videos, and I've watched them from beginning to end. I've mapped out the timeline. I've mapped out the actual course he took, and like everything else you can possibly do. And from the footage that is available online, Kyle Rittenhouse is innocent.
Yeah.
Like, the day it happened, he was innocent.
Wasn't the original narrative that he, like, shot unarmed black men or something like that, even though his victims were
he
not?
wasn't. Yeah. So the narrative changed. That was the other thing that was really annoying about Rittenhouse, is their narrative changed like 3 times. And it was very, very obvious from the beginning that they were full of shit.
Right.
Because they not only did they take like snippets of what happened through the night, but they put them out of order.
And
on purpose.
Then you find out during the trial, the FBI edited some of the footage that was submitted to the trial.
Oh yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
The FBI again.
But yeah, if you take all of the original, like the day it happened, take everything that was posted online, all the videos that were posted online, put them in chronological order and watch them, it tells the entire story from beginning to end. There are almost no gaps. In it. Entirely.
Yeah. No,
they have the video of the first encounter with the guy. They have the video of Kyle after he was no longer able to make it back to where he was standing guard. They have the video of the guy coming after him in the middle of the street and him running away for 5 minutes. And then the guy catches him and Kyle shoots him.
After being clocked in the head with a skateboard.
Yeah, after being... Well, no. The skateboard, that was at the end. That was at the end.
Yeah.
That was the end. So the first guy...
Oh, he tried the jump kick thing.
Oh, yeah. He tried the jump kick thing. He like threw a grocery bag at him, which I'm not really sure what the hell that was supposed to do. But he was very erratic. He was very violent. He was obviously trying to rile people up and get them to go after Kyle.
He was only a convicted pedophile that was let out of jail just a night or two before.
And he literally, so Kyle ran around behind a dumpster. The dude chased him, and Kyle circled the dumpster and then got cornered and finally shot the dude. And then he went to check on him, and somebody else that had witnessed it told him to leave because there was a crowd coming that didn't know what was going on, and they were already yelling for his blood.
Yeah.
And so he left
to the police.
And the police waved him on. And then he got caught in the street, and that's when he shot the other dude that hit him in the head with the skateboard.
Gross Cruz.
Yep.
An amazing shot, by the way.
Oh, fantastic shot. Holy shit. Kyle is a freaking superhero, dude. Like,
to be able to spin around on the ground, then whip around and shoot that guy without hitting anyone else but him in that split second.
Like
after
seriously,
getting hit in the head.
I would say that the chances of somebody who hasn't had active military service accomplishing the amount of control and the amount of accuracy in that kind of situation that Kyle exhibited is like 1 in a million.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you haven't been in a situation like that before, pulling it off as perfectly as Kyle, because Kyle's I don't want to use the word execution, but the way
self-defense.
Yeah,
Let's call it as self-defense.
Well, and I'm not even talking about the actual like shooting of the guy, but the way that he performed under pressure in that situation,
Extreme control.
was perfect. It was damn near perfect.
Throw him into the SEALs. He's ready to go.
Like seriously, anybody else put in that kind of situation would have shot 5 minutes earlier in both instances.
And probably hit somebody else.
They probably would have missed because they would have been so stressed out. You know, and I mean, I have a bit of a soapbox when it comes to that case because I had to defend it so freaking much. I probably could have won that in trial with how much I knew about that case when it happened. Like seriously though, it was that open and closed. There was no doubt. In that case.
Fortunately, the trial came out the right way.
You know, well, for the most part, I mean, it was still so.
It was a nail biter.
Well, even outside, outside of actually watching the trial or watching the video, if you only watched the media narrative, there are people that I know that still believe that Kyle is guilty of murder.
I know
because of the way the media portrayed it. Because they never walked back anything they said. They never corrected anything they said. They never actually aired any of the footage that disproved anything they said. They just went with their narrative and let it sit. And then when he was acquitted, well, he walked free.
The justice system failed.
And that is such a highlight of every issue that we have right now with the media and political sway in the government and media and these things. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. If you look into like literally any media ongoing media narrative that you can name, just some off the top of my head are the Russian collusion narrative. The Russian dossier.
It's still dossier.
Brett Kavanaugh. Like there's a ton of them. You know, just Trump in general. You know, like
Yeah, if you look at any of their narratives under any form of light, it completely sterilizes the entire thing.
And so anyway, the point is just like I don't understand how the media is still in business at this point. By the way, how's Kyle Rittenhouse's lawsuits against the media going?
I actually haven't followed that.
Okay, we should
check that.
He hasn't won any of them yet.
Okay,
yet.
Or actually, I think he might have won one of them.
Nick Sandman,
but the earnings from that is basically paying for all of the countersuits that he's fighting.
Oh, really?
Yes, because the dipstick that hit him with the skateboard is suing him for damages.
Gotcha.
You attacked me.
Well, anyway, I know that Nick Sandman, he made out like a bandit.
Yeah,
he owns for him.
He owns CNN.
Yeah, that's a good way to restart the media. Have Nick Sandman just run all the media from now on. How about that? Anyway, like, I don't understand how the media is still in business with all these stories that they're getting wrong and intentionally getting wrong. I miss the days of actual journalists where they would go out and get us the truth.
Yeah.
Because we want to know what the truth is.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I want this game. I just Googled Kyle Rittenhouse versus the media to see.
Someone made a video game.
It's better. It's better. So this article is from June 23rd. Kyle Rittenhouse, and this is the best. So this is Washington Post. This is Washington Post, right? Kyle Rittenhouse announces video game to fund media defamation suits. June 23rd. And
So
they begin the article.
Kyle Rittenhouse on that fateful night.
They begin the article with this
gosh.
paragraph.
Oh, gosh.
Kyle Rittenhouse, who shot and killed 2 people and wounded a third during a protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin in 2020, announced Thursday plans to release a video game, with proceeds going toward funding defamation lawsuits against the media, of which we now just added ourselves. In the game, players control Rittenhouse, who, equipped with a cartoonish orange gun, shoots turkeys labeled fake news and MSDNC.
Oh, okay.
Invest! I need to find this game. I need to find it. I want to know where it is.
That's so funny. Well,
That's
sign me up
disgusting.
for early
Where?
access.
Right? They refuse to link the site for the game. The bastards.
No. They don't want to fund
Those
Kyle
jerks.
Rittenhouse's suit against them?
The
What?
game is titled Kyle Rittenhouse's Turkey Shoot. Not currently available. On this website, users can pre-order the title for $9.99.
Invest.
I'm down.
Now I've got to find it.
Anyway, all right. Let's see.
It's on Android and iOS.
What other major articles do we have, Trevor?
I think that's
awesome.
I think that's basically it. The it is weird to me that there's the unanimous vote to declassify all the COVID stuff, because it's
that feels out of character for the Democrat Congress.
for
Slightly off color, yes.
Yeah, for the most divided Congress in recent U.S. history to vote unanimously on anything. There would be someone that would disagree with the sky being blue if that was written as a bill.
Agreed.
So, I did hear Massey talking about it, and one thing he thinks is that Democrats are all in favor of it, so Biden can have an out with China. So Biden can go to China and say, "I'd veto it, but it's not going to do anything because it's got 100% support in the House and the Senate. So I can veto it, but it's going to go through anyway. So it's just going to happen."
Wait, I didn't even know we had it. That's a veto-proof majority is a thing?
The president can still veto it.
So what happens if he vetoes it?
It would go back for another vote,
And then they
where
would just
most
vote
likely at least 2/3 are going to vote
Okay, so if
for it.
2/3 is a veto-proof majority?
Yes. So
Okay. Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Civics lesson today, everyone.
Yes. So if the president vetoes something, it goes back to the House and the Senate to be voted on again, where if they want it to actually become law, it has to have at least 2/3 of the House,
Support
2/3
after
of the
the
Senate.
veto.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Vote in favor. And that overrides the veto and it becomes law. So that's basically what Senator Massey is kind of saying here is they've tied Biden's hands so that he doesn't have to worry about his relationship with China, while the U.S. definitely does not prepare to go to war with China.
Yikes.
Oh, related to this, just popped into my mind. Did you see we might go to war with Mexico?
Oh, yeah, the drug cartels.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
The president of Mexico saying that he's going to fund Democrat candidates that are running against GOP candidates that say they want to make the drug cartels a terrorist organization.
I think we just need to end the war on drugs.
End the war on drugs and go ahead and let the Marines march right on down to the halls of Montezuma and keep going.
Yep. No, seriously, I think about it. You end the war on drugs, and the cartel
has no power.
Except for
It's over. Except for human trafficking.
Yep. And then march the Marines down there
and take the halls of Montezuma.
Take the halls of Montezuma.
The halls of Montezuma yearn for its rightful captors.
And while we're at it, let's close the border.
Yeah.
Seriously, though.
You keep marching. Let's take Panama back. That was the stupidest thing we've ever done, is relinquish control of
One
Panama.
of them. Yes.
The most strategic point in the world.
Second most strategic point in the world.
What's the first?
The first is...
is it the Suez?
What is the name of that? The
Is it
sea.
another canal?
No, so there's a point that we control over by Saudi Arabia that the specific area we control supplies oil to literally every country.
Oh, gotcha.
Over there.
Oh, okay.
And
it's near the Suez Canal.
It is near the Suez Canal. And so there is an end game war game for World War III, where as long as we maintain control of that area, we literally control the oil for every country over there that is our enemy.
Hence part of the
including China, Russia, all of them.
Yeah.
We control all of their oil.
Yeah, that became a critical thing for us after World War II. 'Cause
Uh-huh.
We landed in Africa first because we knew that Germany needed the oil that was at that location.
And while Panama is an extremely strategic place, and it is something that it was devastating that we lost it. If we lose that area, we will not win World War III.
Yeah,
we just won't win.
All our allies will have nothing.
Yes. Yeah, if we were to lose our control over that currently held location, which I can't remember the exact name of right now, we won't win.
Yeah.
We won't.
Yep.
But as long as we maintain control of it, we can't lose.
Well, good thing we have very competent leaders in charge.
Yes. Don't jinx us like that.
Don't bog us down with misery. All right. Are you ready for the dumbest thing that we've decided to do? That is listen to Jon Stewart try to explain why gun control is a good idea.
It's going to give me a small stroke. Okay, ready, let's go.
Okay, so what's the format here? Are we going to pause and then debunk what he says
Yep,
sentence by sentence?
When you hear something stupid, let me know and I will pause it.
Okay, push play, then immediately push pause.
And we're done.
Stop at the sound
all
of
of
it. Like, whenever I gag, that's when you know to stop it.
So, backstory. He wants to have this gun control debate. And so he picks, being the up and up person he is, he picks the most qualified person to talk about it, and that is some unknown senator in Oklahoma that's the sponsor of an open carry bill for Oklahoma.
Wait, a state senator?
Yes.
Which
in Oklahoma.
I think the most frustrating thing about this to me is the fact that the senator doesn't know his shit at all.
Or he does, and because he signed a thing with Jon Stewart in their hour-long interview that's only 8 minutes long,
yeah,
Jon Stewart
at least
can selectively edit however it wants.
In this clip, he appears to not know his shit at all.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's seriously, it's so easy to debunk everything Jon Stewart says in this just off the cuff.
Did he call Chip Roy to have Chip Roy debate it for? No, he did not call Chip Roy.
That would have been a fun debate.
Did he call Dana Lash, spokesperson for the NRA, to come in?
That.
Nope, he did not call Dana Lash. Nope, he called some unknown senator out of the state of Oklahoma.
I'd love to hear John and oh gosh, I just keep thinking of Steve Dace now. No, Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear John and Ben go at it on something like this. It'd be hilarious.
You mean you'd like to hear Ben?
Yes. I'd like to hear John try to keep up with Ben.
John would get one thing out. That's it. And Ben Shapiro would just rake him across the coals.
It would be, you have to admit, that'd be entertaining.
Yes.
There would be entertainment value there.
Unfortunately, though, we get Senator Nathan Dam.
The saddest thing, too, is like I've heard Jon Stewart actually be reasonable in things.
Yes. Like we played a couple weeks ago his COVID thing.
Yeah, we played like his COVID thing was
during the
perfectly
lab
great.
leak thing. Like, yeah, he was
Some of the stuff he says here, though, it's just like, dude, really?
Yeah, most of what he says is total crap.
Yeah. So with that, get the duct tape ready, roll it around your head, and here we go.
Second Amendment. I believe the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the one right that's listed in the Constitution that uses that very specific affirmative language, shall not be
Well,
infringed.
it's also the one right that uses the phrase well-regulated.
And in militia.
In
a militia.
Correct.
That's
It's talking
very,
about
very
the militia
specifically
and the
in a
state.
militia.
By the way, just for clarity's sake,
And
I'm not against the Second Amendment.
okay, pause it. So
Let's see.
to
that
be
was,
for clarity's sake, since he said it, for clarity's sake, the Second Amendment
20
states the Second Amendment states that the right of the people to keep and bear arms. That's the beginning of it.
Uh-huh.
It states that the right of the people is to keep and bear arms, and that right is necessary to the security of a free state. I got this backward. So it says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. So that's what a militia is necessary to the security of a free state. But then it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Yep, that's the full text.
That's the full text. That's the full text. So when you're talking about the Second Amendment and people say, well, it says well regulated, it says militia, it says no. The very specific thing it says is that it is the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and that shall not be infringed.
Period. Done.
Period.
Yeah.
Done. The beginning of that is extra. It is, I mean, it's not extra as in it's not necessary, because it is necessary that the state maintain some form of military for its security. That's what they're stating there.
Yeah.
The state needs a military to be secure. The military is to be comprised of the citizens.
The militia.
Because the citizens should be armed.
Uh-huh.
It's not that the citizens should be armed because they're in a militia. It's stating that the militia should be comprised of the citizens because they should be armed.
Sure.
It's the chicken and the egg here. It's not that the people should be armed because they're in a militia. It's that the militia should be comprised of the people because they're armed. That's the way they word it.
So, pop quiz for you from the Bill of Rights.
Uh-huh.
How many periods are in the Bill of Rights?
I have no idea. I've never counted.
I don't know.
I'm guessing because you asked that question that there's only one.
There are 10 periods.
Oh, at the end of each.
In the
Each of the
10
10?
amendments that are known as the Bill of Rights. It is at the end of every single amendment. The founders were very, very particular with how they wrote, not just the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, but also the Bill of Rights. If it could not be explained in one little snippet, it was probably going to be corrupted. The longest amendment, I believe, is the 6th or the 5th amendment. And they have semicolons, but still just one period. So this is it. Within this sentence is it.
Believe the 5th is slightly longer than the 6th.
Yes.
But like barely.
Yeah,
like
anyway.
a few
So
words.
you go to the Second Amendment, there is one period, it is at the very end. They use everything else to specify the things within that amendment. A well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of free state, like Mike said, the state needs a military to protect the interests of the state and the people within the state.
Yep.
Another comma after that. So that means we're on to something else or further explanation. The right of the people. Oh, we've changed subjects. We went from militia was the first subject, a new subject, the people. The right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed. So there's two subjects within this amendment, and both have a comma to explain why They are included in this amendment.
All right.
Yes.
Well, how far are we into the video?
20 seconds.
20
Keep
seconds.
going.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
I'm not again. I don't want to ban guns, but you're saying more guns makes us more safe.
Yes.
So when we got 400 million guns in the country
that you know of,
we had an increase and gun deaths went up.
Okay, pause. Pause, because it's bullshit. All right, I'm gonna break this one down.
You're gonna break down the apples and oranges?
I'm gonna break down this one. Yes. So he is making the statement that we have 400 million guns in the country and we are less safe than we were previously. So let me explain some things in that. Yes, we have more guns currently in the country than we ever have before. However, we have the exact same percentage of gun owners. It has not changed. I mean, it's fluctuated.
Quantity has changed, proportion has not.
Yes, quantity has changed, proportion has not. The proportion has fluctuated about 8% across the last 30 to 40 years.
Uh-huh.
And that's a fluctuation. It's not a steady increase. It's not a steady decrease. Some years it's 4% up. Some years it's 5% down. Other years it's 7% up. You get the drift.
Right.
In fact, it's to the point now where our percentage of gun ownership is almost the exact same this year that it was in 1990. Meaning that the same number of people, well, not the same number of people, but the same percentage of U.S. citizens own firearms. And that percentage is roughly between 28 and 34%. I believe it's currently sitting about 32% of individuals.
No,
so
Trevor, I just sent you a graph.
Okay.
Yeah.
With guns per person and guns
per household.
No,
or gun
homicides per 100K population and guns per person.
That'll be really
the guns
handy
per person
in a
is
second.
going up, and the gun homicides per 100K population is going down.
Yes. And so that's a perfect example of it. So, there's so many different things to unpack here. Because one, he's making the assumption that more guns does not equal more safety because there's still school shootings, I believe is one of the examples that he actually uses here at some point. However,
there it is.
if you look at this graph, it actually does show that guns per person versus gun homicide rate, 1993 to 2013, are exactly inverse. The more guns per person it goes up, the more gun homicides goes down. So there's a number of things here. The first being the assumption that the only thing to worry about is gun homicides. That is a complete and utter illogical fallacy.
It's illogical, Jim.
Because the main reason for the Second Amendment wasn't so you could protect yourself. It wasn't so you could go hunting. It was strictly to protect your country from
tyrannical government.
This
threats, both foreign and domestic.
Yeah,
the Second Amendment is for hunting tyrants.
Hunting tyrants. Yeah. Okay. So, fun facts. We've got some fun facts.
Fun facts.
I've got some fun facts. 2020 to 2022 has the worst, like the highest recorded number of school shootings.
Okay.
In history. 2020 to 2022.
Hold on. Hold up.
Okay.
Hold up. Hold
Okay.
on. You mean to tell me that from 2020 to 2022, when nobody was allowed to go to school, we had more school shootings?
Yes, I am.
What?
Now, it gets better, Trevor. It gets better. Okay? It gets better. What is the worst school shooting you can think of in the last 3 years?
Parkland, I guess?
No.
No, that was more than 3 years ago.
What was the one that just happened in
The
Texas?
elementary school.
Uvalde.
Yes.
Uvalde, Texas. Okay. So if you look at any map of gun shootings, school shootings in the U.S.,
right,
the top 4 states are California, Texas, Florida, and Michigan.
Yes,
if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Michigan has Detroit, so that explains that one. California is California, so that explains that one. So why the hell are Florida and Texas up there?
I know why Florida.
Anybody
is.
want to take a guess?
I know why Florida.
Why is Florida up there?
The well, I don't know if it's the answer you're looking for, teacher, but the answer that I know is the Sheriff's Association of Florida is actually very anti-gun.
Yes.
So they push and advocate for anti-gun laws in Florida.
Yeah.
From the sheriffs.
Yeah. And anybody want to take a crack at Texas? Why is Texas? Texas is the gun capital of the world.
Because Republicans in Texas aren't actually Republicans; they're Democrats.
Texas. You want to know what the Texas state policy is on firearms in schools? What the Texas state policy has
guns
been
in schools, I'm guessing.
The Texas state policy on guns in schools is you may not have a firearm on the premises of a school.
Except for like a couple of exemption counties that we covered the last time we did this.
Yes, but also no.
Yes. Yeah.
There is no exemption for K-12 schools.
Right.
The only exemption in existence in law in the state of Texas is for universities. In universities, if you have a concealed carry permit, you may carry on a school property.
That includes students.
If the university, yes, that includes students, if the university allows it, and only if the university allows it. K through 12 has one exemption and one exemption only. If you have a concealed carry permit, you may have a firearm in your vehicle on school property as long as it is locked and separated from its ammo and
useless.
not visible from outside of the car.
So long as it is useless, you can have it.
Oh, that's comforting.
That is the policy in Texas on school grounds. So Uvalde happens. Well, if we're not allowed to carry firearms in schools, what is our recourse for if somebody shows up to school, breaks the law, and brings a firearm?
Call the cops.
Call
Give
the
them
cops.
dirty looks.
Give them dirty looks. You shouldn't do that.
So, in 2022, the first half of 2022, there were 95 reports of gunfire on school grounds, in which 40 people were killed and 76 injured. Do you know how many were killed at Uvalde?
I don't recall.
I don't remember that number.
One of the 95 reports of gunfire was Uvalde, and it accounted for more than half. 21 individuals were killed.
Oh my gosh.
More than half.
That story made me sick
In
for
one
days.
shot, and it's because no firearms were allowed on campus. The police arrived and stuck
Didn't
their
do their
thumbs
job.
up their asses
Yeah.
for hours while people were being killed.
It took an off-duty cop to go in there and try to save his daughter.
And police were actively preventing people
From
that
going in.
wanted
Yep.
to go in and save their children.
Yep.
Armed people that wanted to go in and save their children, they were actively preventing them from doing it. Actively assisting the active shooter the entire time.
Yeah.
So you want to know when we're going to get safer? We're going to get safer when that percentage of people that own firearms goes up. We're going to get safer when you stop with the bullshit. People can't have guns in school areas. Get rid of that bullshit. Let teachers carry. Let parents carry. I mean, don't let the kids carry.
Unless they're of legal age.
Unless they're of legal age.
In which case they shouldn't be in a K through 12 school. But anyway.
Beside the point. But still, do you know how many shootings happen in states like Idaho and Utah? Oh, the population is not as
Like
big.
0.
You know how many happen?
Like 0.
Two.
Oh, I was close.
2 a year. Roughly 2 a year. And you know how many people die in those?
And that's not necessarily someone going in during school hours and shooting.
Yeah,
It's
no.
on.
That's
site.
an on school ground shooting, which doesn't necessarily even mean there's an active shooter ever.
Uh-huh.
And there are pretty much zero reported deaths in states like that where teachers are allowed to carry.
Yeah. Teachers shouldn't have to carry. No, they shouldn't have to. However, we live in the real world.
We live in the real world. And so to prove a point here, everything, literally everything in the world is a trade-off.
Uh-huh.
So,
unless, of course, the government bails you out.
Unless, of course, the government bails you out.
Yeah,
right. But even then, it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
You're trading something. If you do one thing, you're going to give up something else. You're going to select security and give up freedom. Well, what does it look like when you give up freedom? It looks like World War II Germany. That's what it looks like. So let's compare notes here. Because you sit there and you emotionally browbeat me with freaking school shootings and, well, what about the children? Don't you care about the children? Yes, I fucking care about the children, because you know what happens when the government takes away your guns? They round you up and they put you in concentration camps and they gas your ass. You know how many children died in the Holocaust? Between 1 and 1.5 million children. Teenaged years and younger died in the Holocaust because their government rounded them up, put them in a camp, and either executed them or worked them to death because they couldn't defend themselves from their government. So you want to sit there and you want to make the argument, oh, you don't care about the children. Well, no, you don't care about the children, asshole. Because I'm the one that's sitting here thinking about, well, what future do our kids have? Not much of one if we can't keep our government in check. Because governments kill people. People kill people and governments kill people.
Only every time.
But Mike, our government would never do that.
Yeah, that's what the Jews said. That's what the Germans said. And then it happened.
No,
we literally just spent 2 hours talking about our government doing that. Literally.
No, like I've talked about these issues to acquaintances and other people. Like that's literally their comeback when I talk about tyranny. There is a large percentage of the population that believes that, oh, we don't have to worry about this because that would never happen to us.
and a lot of that, for me, comes from people of my own faith, where in our faith, we're all three of us LDS.
What a stupid son.
That was really delayed. I'm sorry.
Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, thank you very much.
Actually. But yeah, so in the Book of Mormon, it has this group of people known as the Gadianton robbers. They deal in secret combinations. They do all their works in darkness, behind the scenes, to try to usurp power and all this stuff. Eventually, they get to the point where they're in charge of the government, and it all goes to crap. Mm-hmm. And in the church, we're studying this alongside the Bible, and the Bible has the exact same story, basically unfolding, just different characters and different times, different locations. Which means that there's nothing new under the sun, right?
Yeah.
But people of our own faith, you try to point this out to them as, oh, that would never happen to us. What do you think the Nephites said?
Well, no, the thing
what do you think the ancient Jews said? What do you think the ancient Israelites said? What do you think they said when Noah said, hey, it's going to flood? God's not going to flood the whole earth.
Yeah. No, like the thing that I find funny is there are a lot of complacent members of the church who are like, oh, no, that would never happen. It's like, what do you believe is going to happen in the last days? Like, that's literally part of our religion.
See right here where it says this was written for our time, not for their time? Well, Anyway. I
digressing. Moving away from the church topic here. All right, should we? How far are we into the video so far? 34 seconds. I love it.
This is turning into a hot mic. I didn't even play the stinger.
When exactly does this curve hit?
Yes.
That takes it down. Would 1 billion guns do it?
It happened in about 1998.
50,000. You're talking about
1998. Let's see. That's that's when some firearm restrictions
So
were
again,
lifted.
I feel like the number of guns thing is totally irrelevant. Like the thing that matters is the number of responsible citizens with guns.
It doesn't matter how it doesn't matter how many fire extinguishers you have in the building. If nobody knows how to properly use it to defend the building from a fire, you're gonna burn the building down.
Fun fact: do you know what the highest total gun deaths country in the world is?
I have no
Venezuela.
idea.
It's Brazil.
Ah, it's close.
It's a good one.
Yes. And do you know what their gun laws are?
What are their gun laws?
Extremely loose, looser than the U.S.
All firearms are required to be registered with the minimum age for gun ownership being 25.
25, wow.
Oh, so it's quite restricted.
Super restrictive. Yeah, 25. It is generally illegal to carry a gun outside a residence, and a special permit granting the right to do so is granted to certain groups, such as law enforcement officers. For citizens to legally own a gun, they must have a gun license and pay a fee every 10 years to renew the license.
I'm sure it's a very simple, cheap fee too.
It's 88, whatever the hell their monies is.
There's about 5
reals?
5 reals per dollar. So that, what is that, $20?
Yeah, something like that.
It's a little less than 5. So yeah, it's about
super
$20.
cheap. Until 2008, unregistered guns could be initially registered at no cost for the gun owner. However, that is not the case anymore.
Anyway.
Less than a fraction of not even a percent, of 100%.
But it goes up, not down. So your argument is backwards.
No,
But if
yours
you
is.
want-
We
okay,
just did
so
that.
let's come up with a solution. Okay, so
There's definitely some editing that happened in there. 'Cause why would you go from...
Again, this is a selectively edited clip
why would
posted
you go
by Jon
from-
Stewart. And so the pro-gun person here, the pro-gun state senator, he's not allowed to make any good points.
percent of 100%.
But it goes up, not down. So your argument is backwards.
But if you want, okay, so let's come up with a solution. Okay, so one of the issues, a contributing factor, again, I believe it's the individual that is the problem.
So your solution to that is give them more guns.
Yes.
So I'm
Give
saying
more
that
people
because people are
guns.
the problem, we need to look at the problems that those people are facing and how do we address it.
But you've removed the ability for the state to do that.
No.
Because you're...
If you don't have background checks.
Which we have.
And you don't have registration and permitting.
Yeah, we don't want registration.
How do you know who has a problem in terms of the people who you're giving a gun to?
Do you want to talk about the background checks first, or do you want to talk about solutions first?
I want to talk about what you're doing is you're bringing chaos to order.
That's your subjective opinion that it's bringing chaos to order.
It's not my subjective opinion.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Gun-related deaths. That's not a subjective opinion.
Okay.
Okay.
that's
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So-
50,000 gun-related deaths. Go ahead, Keith.
Oh, I was just going with the subjective opinion
Okay,
thing.
go ahead. Go with that.
What I've noticed with these leftists that are very committed to the cause is they will say very confidently statements that are utterly false. He's like, no, that's not my subjective opinion. That is absolute fact. And they're just it's obviously just their subjective opinion. It's like they're preying upon the ignorance of the people that are hearing their argument.
Yeah. Yeah, the 50,000 gun deaths a year, that's including suicides.
Yeah. And so that...
Well, they wouldn't commit suicide if... shut up, they would. If you're at that point, the means of suicide does not change whether or not you're committing suicide.
Yeah. No, and that again, that's a separate. That's a completely separate. If you're
and that goes back to
if you're a threat to yourself, then steps should be taken or whatever. But that doesn't have anything to do with gun safety because a person was intentionally being a threat to themselves. So that's a completely separate issue.
And that part of that number of that 50,000 goes back to what Senator Nathan Dam is saying, is people need help.
Yeah.
People wouldn't be in this situation of committing suicide, firearm or not, if they actually had the mental health that they're supposed to have. One of the things that Ronald Reagan did wrong was probably shutting down all the mental institutions.
Yeah. Agreed.
Were they being ran improperly? Most likely. Were they helping people? Yes. Now they're just running amok And the FBI is handing them firearms to go and commit atrocities like shoot up a school where 21 kids die. Yes, the FBI was involved with that one. The Uvalde shooting.
Right.
So let's have the government keep track of everything because the government is the one that's making the problem. So if we have the government fix the problem, then the problem will go away that the government made in the first place.
Okay, let's see if we can make more progress on this video.
Let me back up for a second. In every other place in your life, you want to bring order, but guns are the outlier for you. So let's start with immigration. You want registration.
Yes.
Maybe a wall,
Yes.
maybe not a wall. Why do you want
A wall.
that?
Well, one of the reasons is because of the fentanyl crisis.
Right.
I mean, okay, but...
And you don't know when it's coming across. So what do you do?
But the fentanyl crisis is twice what the gun death crisis is.
Okay, so until the gun crisis gets to the fentanyl level,
not until it.
You don't want to bring order.
No, not until it.
What is that?
But
you see
we're
my
gonna-
point.
If we're going to talk about protecting lives,
Yeah, that's a straw man.
larger
That is a
issue
straw
in
man.
America than guns is. If we're talking about individual lives of ways that they can be protected, loss of life in America, there's loss of life through fentanyl. There's loss of life through obesity. The obesity crisis in America costs 6 times the number of lives as guns.
Right, and
so,
you're the guy saying, you know what would help this? Ice cream.
No. So, you know what would help the problem that we're facing with firearms?
What?
The fatherlessness crisis that we have in America.
Yes.
If you look
Totally
at the
valid
statistics,
point.
Right, yeah, they're dying from gun deaths.
80%.
Who is?
Yeah.
The
Oh.
fathers?
The fathers, yes, that's what
That's
he's
his
saying.
point?
That's his
Okay.
point.
That's a dumb... I'm not going to bother rebutting that. Just keep going.
They're not dying from guns. They're leaving because of government.
That's statistically
bullshit.
insignificant.
Oh my gosh.
Leaders either came from a broken or fatherless home.
Yes. Yes,
So you
that's a
would
great
say
point.
No guns for fatherless homes.
No.
Holy crap.
Oh, dude, he's retarded.
It's not what I would say. I would say that fathers need to be more engaged.
Great.
Yes.
So let's
Crime with a firearm if they don't have a father in the
Let's put more
home.
resources into areas that are poverty-stricken. All for it.
And into fatherlessness, and that's something that we're doing.
Why
in Oklahoma.
with guns are you against bringing order?
But why with
I'm not
guns?
against
What?
bringing order.
You are. You're also...
Hold on, John. Hold on, John. You're making it less safe for cops and people. Whatever.
Is that a when did you stop beating your wife argument thing? That's basically what he said. Like, why are you against bringing order?
So John is saying, why are you against bringing order? By bringing in more guns, you're bringing in more chaos. What's the first freaking thing you do, John, when there's an intruder in your house? You call the police, who have guns to bring what? Order to your house. Ass.
Back. Gosh.
Yeah.
Like seriously, this all all of his arguments are on this emotional. Well, we have to kill less people. Kill less people. You're giving people the opportunity to kill more people. Okay, let's break this down. 45,222 people die from gun-related injuries, and that's not just murders.
That's
also suicides.
Murder, suicide, accident, misfires, all kinds of stuff. 45,222 people a year.
Self-defense.
Self-defense.
Yeah.
Self-defense is included in that number.
Yep.
45,222 people. Okay. Murders are about 43% of that.
Okay.
But that's just so you know that roughly half of that number is actually murders. Well, I rounded up to an even half.
Uh-huh.
Round up to an even half. Okay. Now ignore that entirely. 45,222 people. Do you know how many years you would need to murder 45,222 people in order to hit the number of children, just children, that were killed in the Holocaust?
How many years?
Somewhere in the vicinity of 50.
Yeah.
That we
Just children.
That's the estimated number that we know about.
That's going to the 1.5, because if you take 45,222 people a year, the Holocaust lasted roughly 12 years.
Yeah.
It was about 12 years. Okay? 45,222 people times 12 years is 542,664 people.
So only a third.
Yep.
Less than a third. It's almost a quarter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the point is like the reason we have the Second Amendment is to protect ourselves against tyrannical governments, and that's totally valid because if the government has its way and they take away all of our rights, they do this selective justice that we've been talking about earlier, and it comes time where we need to overthrow our government. We will have the means to do that.
So the answer to his question is when does it become where's the breaking point? How many people have to die before it is worthwhile to ban guns? The answer to that question is roughly 1.5 million children in 12 years.
I think I disagree with that.
Which is 125,000 children a year. Which is more than double. The total number of people that are dying from everything.
Well, we've reached that benchmark then with fentanyl because it's over 100,000 people dying a year of fentanyl.
And again, he's talking children.
Yes.
So reaching that many children per year dying. Anyway, I kind of disagree with that philosophically because I don't think the numbers are relevant.
I don't think they are either. But that's the point I'm making is it's about trade-offs. So what's the trade-off for gun control? Well, the trade-off for gun control is government control.
And that's
you lose government control.
The Holocaust is just one government.
Yeah,
you
it's
also
one
have
government.
To consider the Soviet Union.
Yeah, it's not even considering
Chinese,
Ming.
Mao,
It's not, Mao and friggin' Stalin. And Stalin was worse than Hitler.
Yeah.
I'm not even looking at the numbers that Stalin put out.
Yeah. The majority of the deaths from Stalin and Mao were basically from starvation from the community farms that people were forced to work on.
So you want to talk about my real motivation for keeping gun control? My real motivation for keeping gun control is I don't want the United States to ever participate in anything even remotely close to what was the Holocaust.
I don't want
the Soviet Union.
Or the Soviet Union.
I don't want the United,
or any of those things.
I don't want the United Soviet States of America.
Exactly. And so, that it might sound cold and heartless to you because this is the issue that we have right now, but I'm telling you it is a trade-off. Because if you implement gun control, inevitably what happens is the government no longer gives a shit about your rights, and they'll do whatever they want, and eventually they will kill people. And when they kill people, they will kill far more people and far more children. And when I'm talking about the number of children deaths in the Holocaust, I'm just talking about the Jewish children in the concentration camps. I'm not even talking about the kids that died from socialism in Germany and from the war in Germany. It is just the kids that were killed in concentration camps,
or the kids that were executed by SS officers because they wouldn't pick up a gun.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Another thing I will say is even if we are playing this game of what policy is worse, like this policy or this policy, even if we're playing that game, that almost grants the premise that he's making is if he were to enact these gun control laws, that would solve the problem of gun deaths.
Which it wouldn't.
It wouldn't. Is the thing. So
it wouldn't.
How about this? How about we make a deal with the liberals? Let's give them Chicago's. Let's just give them Chicago. There's a big gun problem of gun deaths in Chicago. They can enact whatever laws they want in Chicago.
They already did.
I know, exactly.
But it doesn't.
And let's see what happens to the statistics.
The problem is that every time they will argue that doesn't count because the states surrounding that don't have. They basically claim they don't have any gun laws, and somebody from Chicago can just go get a gun there and bring it back to Chicago,
how secure
and it doesn't matter.
Are our borders again?
Exactly. It's stupid. Their argument is stupid, and that's why I bring it to this because it's like you can't argue with them logically that it will never work because they'll always be like, there's some excuse for why it didn't work when we tried it. It's not real socialism.
Real socialism never tried.
It's not. Real socialism's never been tried. Yes, it has. You're just so full of shit and so blind that you can't see the detriment that it's been to the world.
the result that it always becomes.
You know, and that's the issue. So then, you know, even when you're talking, the funniest thing to me, and the reason I bring up the Holocaust thing is because even when you talk about it on an emotional level, there is an example of a trade-off right here that disproves their premise.
They surrendered their firearms because they were convinced in some way that it's safer.
Yes. And that they didn't have a right to them.
And it wasn't just the Jews, it was
Just
Germans.
everybody. Germans in
surrendered.
general.
Yeah.
The entire German population did
It started with the Jews, but it was the entire population.
Yeah. And they were murdered en masse.
Yep.
Same thing happened in Russia. Same thing happened in China.
Cuba.
Once
Venezuela.
Once is an anomaly, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern.
You fool me, you can't get fooled again.
and how many times has it happened? It has happened in literally every single despotic government that has ever arisen. And every single government that has ever existed.
Only every time.
Every single time, if left unchecked and uncontrolled by its people, will eventually slide to despotism. Period. It is an
inevitability.
Inevitability of government.
Yeah.
One thing I find fascinating is I would almost guarantee that Jon Stewart would agree that feudalism was terrible.
Yeah.
Right?
What is that?
Feudalism, king.
Oh, okay.
And then all the peasants. And all
So
that stuff.
monarchy and
yes.
the lords.
The feudal era with the kings and all that stuff. Everyone knows about the knights, you know, the shining armor and their weapons and all that stuff. Whenever the king wanted to go to war, the only people that had weapons were if you were employed as a soldier or the king's guard, you had swords or spears or whatever. Or if you were a knight, you had a weapon, and then your immediate guard had weapons. Outside of that, the peasants that were often enlisted to go to war, their weapons were pitchforks.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because that's all they had.
That's all they had. That was their
Those
farming
were tools. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they had spears because spears were easy to make because it's just a pointy stick.
Yeah.
So if the peasants decided, hey, I don't like the king, their weapon of choice was a pitchfork and a sharpened stick.
Yeah.
Versus the king and his knights and his guard, who had full armor, swords, all that stuff. Fast forward to today, we have government. It's never going to blah, blah, blah. The government and the people. The people, according to the founders, should be armed just as much, if not more, than the government is armed.
Does that mean you should be able to own a nuke?
Yes. If I can afford...
You should have an aircraft carrier.
If I can afford an aircraft carrier, I would have an aircraft carrier parked in whatever lake it would fit in.
Along with all of the aircraft on it.
And weaponry and everything. Because, yes.
You sunk my battleship.
Well, that could be dangerous. Dangerous for who? Who would that be dangerous for?
I mean,
some rogue person could... Yeah, some rogue person could do that, and then they got 50 other jets flying after them right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole premise behind an armed society is a polite society. Because one rogue person, sure, they might try to shoot up the saloon, but everybody else in the saloon is armed. And then you're never welcome back to that town again, if you're alive.
Has anybody else ever, you know, what was the name of that tombstone? OK Corral?
Yeah.
Was that a...
Yeah. If you dig into it, the Wild West wasn't actually as wild as it's portrayed to be in the movies.
No, not at all.
Because, again, everyone was armed. Sure, there was the gangs that would run through town and all that stuff, but they picked the towns that were the least protected.
Yeah. Least protected with what, Trevor?
Firearms.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, John.
All right.
But
are we almost
All right.
halfway?
I'm sorry. I'll stop.
Making it less safe for cops and for people. When the police go to a domestic call, it's the most dangerous call they can go on.
Mm-hmm.
In your world, if they knew that there were firearms in the house, that's a safer call. Is that what you're saying?
No.
No.
Because why?
Because police treat every situation as a potential.
But more guns makes us safer. So,
as a people, it makes us as a people safer. Yes.
My research on this comes from when I was in high school, but given the track history of things, it's probably still about the same. People that have concealed carry permits rarely break the law, at least on that kind of level, firearm-related level.
Almost all of them speed, though.
Almost.
Almost. I can say that with a 98% confidence. Almost all of them
Where does
speed.
that statistic come from, Mike?
He has his sources.
Pulled it out of my ass.
So yeah, people with concealed carry permits. Well, what if that's dangerous for the cops to have all these concealed weapons around and all this stuff and la 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 la. There are more instances of people with concealed carry permits protecting police officers' lives, saving their lives, than there are of police officers being killed by people with concealed carry permits because it's never happened.
Wait, really? People with concealed carry permits have never killed
shot a police officer.
Police officer? Well, there you go.
But
So,
there's numerous cases of them saving police officers.
Police officers have also never gone around from home to home to take away people's firearms either. So
except for New Orleans.
That wasn't the police officers. That was the
National
Guard.
And the sheriff.
And the sheriff.
And the local police.
So
it was only every thing in New Orleans.
Okay, well, I'll let that one slide. Actually, I forgot what I was going to say. Let's just keep going.
why don't, when the police go to a house filled with guns, why don't they breathe a sigh of relief knowing that this Second Amendment that shall
because
not be
when they're
infringed
going
is
to that
being
house, it's because the
exercised
person's already committed
so
a crime.
fruitfully in this home?
Yeah.
Are you familiar
Okay,
with
pause it.
39-year-old
Okay, I
woman
remembered
in
what
New
I was going to
Jersey?
say. The key variable here is not the gun. It's the
individual.
Like the responsible. Exactly. It's the individual. Duh. So the
this
more
guy's-
responsible citizens we have that own guns, the more safe the society is. That's absolutely true.
We're going to go serve a warrant at this house. This guy looks like he's killed 20 people. Does he have any guns in the house?
I'm going to go
That's
with
not what the cops are worried about at that point. They're worried about, oh, this guy's killed a lot of people.
Yeah. So anyway, here, let's assume both of the scenarios here. So let's say that there are a lot of responsible citizens with guns. Yes, that would make the country safer. Therefore, we need a Second Amendment so those responsible citizens can carry a gun.
Uh-huh.
Now let's grant the other side of the premise. Let's say there's a lot of irresponsible citizens with guns. If there's a lot of irresponsible citizens with guns, that's a darn good argument for why I should be able to carry a gun.
Yeah, average.
Either way, we need to have the right to carry guns.
Average police response time is, was it 5 to 10 minutes or something like that?
So, yeah, like I will agree that there's a problem with irresponsible citizens having guns, but that doesn't mean that taking away responsible citizens' gun is going to solve the problem.
What is it that makes someone irresponsible, Keith?
Their intentions.
Their intentions.
Well, that and just their...
And their actions.
Yeah. And if they're just being generally stupid with a gun.
So if someone is irresponsible and you give them more rules to follow, are they going to be more responsible or less responsible?
I'm going to go with the same amount of irresponsibility.
The same amount of irresponsibility. So you're saying that someone that breaks the law doesn't care what the law says.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Interesting. Just
I believe he actually just made another logical fallacy with that. I believe he just used a false cause logical fallacy.
With what did he say?
Oh, that's a fun game. Name the fallacy.
Name the fallacy.
Dude, I seriously, I think we could go through this and just point out logical fallacy in almost every question
I'm
he
a little
asks.
rusty. But
So false cause is you presumed that a real or perceived relationship between things means that one is the cause of the other.
Oh, someone has a lot of guns. The cops are going to be scared going into the house because they have a lot of guns.
Yes, it's not just because they have a lot of guns. It's because the cops are also responding to a crime that's already been committed.
Well, if you have a lot of guns in your house, the cops are going to be safer in your house. Why are the cops in my house? That should have been that guy's question.
Right.
Why are the cops in my house? Well, you broke the law. Okay, they're worried that I broke the law, not that I have a lot of guns.
Yeah.
That's what they're worried about. Well, if you have a lot of... They don't know that I have a lot of guns. What law did I break? Well, you broke a firearm law. Okay, they know I have a firearm.
Yeah. The only thing with the logical fallacies is when you're looking at logical fallacies in somebody's argument, you have to be really careful not to fall for the fallacy.
That's where you just try to dispute all of their arguments by just pointing out that they're a fallacy.
It's when you presume that their claim is wrong because it's been poorly argued or you've identified a fallacy within it.
That's so funny.
You know,
I didn't know there was a fallacy.
There is a fallacy. So
like what they did with the slippery slope argument is that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
It's only been true every time.
Yeah. Yeah, and the funniest thing about slippery slope is it is a logical fallacy, but at the same time, it's one of those logical fallacies that often is actually correct.
It just needs time.
It just needs time to be proven correct. And so you don't actually know if it's a slippery slope fallacy or if it's an actual slippery slope prediction until years down the road.
No, my understanding is the slippery slope, like, with the LGBT agenda or whatever, that was their biggest refute to our arguments against gay marriage. They're like, oh, that's a slippery slope. It wouldn't lead to bestiality or whatever,
Yes.
Like, it has led to a lot of other things, and that's not slippery slope. That's the logical conclusion.
Yes.
Like, if you say that
it's
love is love, meaning all love is valid, then that would also encompass like people falling in love with Ferris wheels and stuff, which is totally a thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because
and that's one of the tamer ones.
Yeah.
You can totally tell that John is not really, at least in these clips, I almost feel like they did John just as much a disservice by snipping it the way they did as they did for the senator, because it really seems like he's not really questioning or talking with him in any way that is productive, like on purpose. Like every question he asks it's turning things around. He's using a lot of how the crap do you pronounce it?
So you're saying that they killed the dads? What's happened? No.
Logical fallacy, which is when you engage with criticism by turning it back on the accuser.
Yeah.
So he's answering,
shifting the burden of proof.
he's shifting it. Like the senator will say something as an answer to his question, and then he'll turn it around in the next question as well. Then that's not trying to find an actual solution. It's not trying. He's literally just trying to make the senator look stupid. Yeah. At least that's the way it appears in these snips.
Well, remember, this is, like you said, that is a disservice to Jon Stewart. This is from Jon Stewart's YouTube channel.
I know.
Like, this is his idea of dominating an argument.
And he's doing himself a disservice because it really does, the way that this argument is occurring, it doesn't look good for John in my mind, because he's not dominating. He's asking stupid questions.
And the more I watch it,
trying to guide an argument and a discussion that is, he's not allowing an actual discussion to occur.
He's trying to keep it one-sided.
Yes.
And honestly, it makes the senator look better because, like, at the beginning, the senator's like, okay, let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about the mental health thing. And Jon Stewart basically just blows him off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, and it just keeps happening over and over again. The body language behind it tells you a lot of stuff. With the senator's like, okay, I'm here. I want to come to some sort of agreement, find solutions, all that stuff.
I mean,
and he's got that body language of, I'm actually listening to what you're trying to say, and I'm trying to find the right way to answer it.
Yeah.
And Jon Stewart's just got this language of just sitting back all relaxed, he's got the body language of not caring what he has to say back to him.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because like we've been talking about these logical fallacies. I mean, I go back through just what we've heard so far. There are, like, most of the logical fallacies we can point out in here. I mean, we've seen this. We've seen the straw man. We've seen the false cause. We've seen an appeal to emotion. We've seen. I don't think we've seen a slippery slope yet, but we've seen special pleading. That's another one that he's done, where he moves the goalposts or makes up exceptions when a claim that he's made is shown to be false. There's one that I can't pronounce, but it's basically avoiding having to engage with criticism by turning it back on the accuser. I mentioned that already. Loaded questions. He's shifting burden of proof. And using ambiguity in his language, like he's literally using all of the logical fallacies to try to guide this in the direction he wants to go. And
yeah, it's like he's not interested in hearing the other side.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Keep going.
I'm familiar with a ton of anecdotes. I'm asking you a simple question.
This is not an anecdote,
When
John.
the police
This actually happened.
go to a house,
She had a restraining
This is
order
an
on
appeal
her
to authority.
ex-boyfriend
I
of
can
an
run
individual.
through
I know, we can both run
hundreds
through
and
that.
hundreds of examples of women killed by their domestic
He
partners
just
by
accused
guns
him of
that were not taken away through the lessening of red flag
anecdotes,
laws.
and he's like, "Well, I can think of 100
pivoting
anecdotes."
to
Nice.
anecdotes.
No, this is not anecdotes.
My
What the
goodness.
police say. If we had gun registry.
So there's another big edit there. He finished that story. The senator finished that story.
Yeah.
They cut it out because they knew it was detrimental to his case, to Jon Stewart's case.
If we were able to track purchases,
No, thank you.
if they have a technology that every bullet would be stamped
No.
with an individual like a fingerprint.
No.
If we had an ATF that wasn't defunded,
No.
we would be able to enforce gun laws more effectively.
No. Again, that would be giving control to the government, so they know who has guns and who doesn't.
Again, John,
Which,
seriously, the FBI gave the weapons to the kid that shot up Uvalde because he was flagged by the FBI, and the FBI gave him guns.
Oh yeah, that's a pattern that we've seen where the people that pull off these school shootings, a lot of the time they're just they were on FBI watch lists or known by the police or whatever, but because they didn't want to mark it as a felony because it would give them more paperwork or whatever, they just decided to not label the crimes that he had already committed as crimes, which I forget which case it was.
Yeah, and instead of
I'm
getting
sure
him,
multiple cases,
and instead of getting him the mental
it
health,
therefore
that they
made
need.
it so he passed the background check because they didn't label his previous crimes as crimes, and that's a Democrat thing.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. I keep bringing it back to the logical fallacy thing, but I'm looking at a list of logical fallacies right now and their definitions, and in 5 minutes there are like 4 on the list
that he
hasn't committed.
Which 4?
I don't think I have seen him use slippery slope yet, or a fallacy. And I don't believe he's used a gambler's fallacy or a bandwagon yet.
All right, let's keep going.
And we would
There's
be
still
able
time.
to solve gun
Let's fill out that
crimes
bingo
more
card.
effectively. You're
Or
against
genetic.
all of that.
Because the person is the threat, not
Yes.
the firearm,
Yes.
not the knife.
I get it.
The person and the individual is the one that is the concern here.
But you don't want anything that could help law enforcement or society
Like what?
determine whether or not a person is a good guy with a gun or a bad guy.
Okay, so state your
The
solution.
registry would allow you to have much more effective background checks.
That might be true,
So
but that would be
I
giving
don't
the government,
understand
which is the point
why
of the
you won't
Second
just admit
Amendment,
that you are
power to go against citizens with guns.
Yeah. That, and again, the background checks aren't even looked at seriously by the FBI. Because we have Hunter Biden, who we know falsified information on a background check, which is a felony, and he's still walking around.
Well,
yeah. We know that many of the school shooters and other major popular shooters filled out background checks.
And they passed them.
And they
because
passed them.
Their
but
previous crimes
they filled them
were
out
not marked as crimes.
That, or they filled them out illegally.
Yep.
And they still got the purchase. Even in places like California where you have to wait 3 days to actually get the firearm. John,
making it harder for police to manage the streets by allowing all of these guns to go out without permits, without checks, and without background stuff. Why is that hard?
Not a
Why
single
can't you just
purchase
stand
is
by that?
without a background.
Because that's not what I'm doing.
check
I'm
unless
defending
it's
the
a private
individual's right
purchase.
to keep and bear arms.
That's a different argument.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Here's what I'm saying.
That's a logical fallacy. That is a logical fallacy, you asshole.
You want to say I'm a Second Amendment purist and I'm making it safer. You're not. You're making it more chaotic. And that's not a matter of
Yeah,
opinion.
that's a logical fallacy.
That is a matter of opinion, John.
But why take away their tools?
Because certain of their tools that they're using would be infringements upon the people's right to keep and bear arms, upon their constitutional rights, upon due
So you're
process,
saying
upon other things.
Yeah, that's a
that
great argument.
registering is an infringement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is voting a right?
No.
No.
It's a right for citizens, yes.
Do you have to do anything to do it?
Yes.
What do you have to do?
It depends on the state.
What do you have to do?
Sometimes you have to be at least 18 years
You have
old.
to
What do you have to
register.
do?
Okay, that's
And
got to be a
in some
fallacy.
places you
He's
have
making
to
false
have a
equivalency,
government-issued
right?
ID.
What do you have to? You have to
You have to be on the voter rolls?
register.
Composition
You have to
division.
register. So you have to register to a right. Is that an infringement?
Does the right to voting say shall not be infringed?
Or no
So
true
this is just a
Scotsman.
semantic argument now.
No, it's not.
You believe voting
Or
rights.
begging the question.
It's just a semantics argument.
Or black and white.
Nowhere in the Constitution does it say you have a right to vote.
To be clear, that doesn't mean that we're against voting.
No. But you also don't have a right to it. Because if you had a right to it, while you're in prison, you would still be able to vote.
Yes. Yeah. Voting is not a right. It's a privilege.
Can be infringed.
So he made a
because it
mistake
doesn't
there
say
because
specifically
he's wrong.
Is it-
Shall not be infringed.
Is it an infringement upon a 17-year-old's right to vote, since they don't have that right to vote?
No.
Oh, it's not.
That's because, again,
It's
they
not
don't
a
have
right.
the right to vote.
If it was a right, everyone would have it.
Infringement on them?
No, absolutely
Which,
not.
Why not?
You're
you know,
because
the
you're
age
one
and
making the
everything
argument,
is
not
also
me.
a
I'm
infringement
saying
on the right to
even
bear
rights
arms.
have responsibilities, and that within those responsibilities,
Responsibilities,
and order.
No.
Otherwise, it's chaotic. I'll go you one further. You want to ban drag show readings to children?
Yes.
To my
Why?
knowledge, yes.
Why?
Why?
What
Oh
are you
my
protecting?
gosh.
Why can we
He's
prohibit
bringing in
children
drag show?
from voting?
Yes,
those under
he
18
is.
from voting?
Why are you
But
banning?
also that
Is that free speech? Are you
No.
infringing on that performer's
Again,
free speech?
composition
they can
division.
continue to exercise their free speech, just not in front of a child.
Why?
Because the government does
Because
have a
pedophiles
responsibility
should be
to
locked away
protect-
to
I'm
jail.
sorry?
The government does have a responsibility in certain instances to
What's
protect
the
children.
leading cause of death amongst children in this country?
Fentanyl.
And I'm going to give you a hint.
Abortion.
It's not drag show
Duh.
readings to
Abortion.
children.
Correct, yes.
So what is it?
I'm presuming you're going to say it's firearms.
No, I'm not going to say it like it's an opinion.
It is
That's
an
what it
opinion,
is.
'cause it's wrong.
firearms. More than cancer, more than car accidents. And what you're telling me is you don't mind infringing free speech to
'Cause it's not
protect
free
children
speech.
from this amorphous
It's
thing that you
pedophilia.
think of. But when it comes to children that have died, you don't give a flying fuck to stop that because that shall not be infringed. That is hypocrisy at its highest order.
Okay, so what he's saying is because, like, pedophiles are not the leading cause of death, we shouldn't worry about pedophiles. We should worry about this gun problem that won't actually solve the gun problem.
Yeah.
That, you could say, is hypocrisy of the highest order.
Also, the First Amendment doesn't say it cannot be infringed.
The First Amendment doesn't say what cannot be infringed.
That your free speech
Oh,
cannot
yeah,
be
yeah,
infringed.
that's true.
Just like to point that out. It's a thing of semantics. No, it's a thing of specifics. It's not semantics, it's specifics.
Well, our Second Amendment protects our First Amendment, really.
Yeah. The first because of the second.
And the number one cause of death among all children is accidents, unintentional injuries, by the way.
Oops.
Oh, well, there you go. So we don't even have to use the abortion, which that is the number one cause of death among children.
Yes. The number one is
By a
reported by
mile.
the CDC is accidents.
Yeah.
Which I assume involves also firearms and
Yes.
things like that. But the number one cause of death, leading cause of deaths among children ages 1 to 4 is accidents, congenital malformations, and assault.
What about, is there an age group that's a little bit broader?
There's not one that's broader, but it's split up. So there's 1 to 4, Then there's 5 to 9, which is accidents, cancer, and assault. 10 to 14 is accidents, intentional self-harm or suicide, and cancer.
Oh, wait. So, intentional self-harm and suicide. What was it I said last week that the transgender stuff, youth have now over a 50% suicide rate?
That's a good point. John, what's the leading cause of
What's the leading cause of
transgender
death among transgenders?
children?
It's suicide, yes. So, yeah, he's wrong on pretty much every level.
Every single point. Now, granted, that 8-minute clip is not the full interview like we've said, and I'm not about to pay to see Jon Stewart do a full edited interview.
Yeah. Okay. I got a couple minutes. Let's go through this and see which ones of these you guys think he used. Straw man, misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. False cause, presuming that a real or perceived relationship between things means that one is the cause of the other.
Yes, absolutely.
Appeal to emotion.
Yep.
Manipulating an emotional response in place of a valid or compelling argument. The fallacy. Presuming that because a claim has been poorly argued or a fallacy has been made, that the claim itself must be wrong. I actually do think he did use that one at one point.
So.
Slippery slope, asserting that if we allow A to happen, then Z will consequently happen too. Therefore, A should not happen.
I guess he, in a roundabout way, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not in a direct thing within that interview.
Ad hominem. Attacking your opponent's character or personal traits in an attempt to undermine their argument.
He attacked his.
What was that phrase he said about you don't give a fuck?
Yeah.
That's ad hominem.
Yes.
This is the one I can't pronounce. It's to quote Tuquoque.
What does that one mean?
I'm just gonna call it Q because it's Q followed by a bunch of other letters, so it's in a Q.
QQ.
To Q. That one is avoiding having to engage with criticism by turning it back on the accuser, answering criticism with criticism.
Is that, yeah, definitely.
Yep. To Q. Personal incredulity, saying that because one finds something difficult to understand, that it's therefore not true. I don't think he used that one.
Yeah, I can't think of any
I mean,
specifics.
he couldn't understand what he was saying, and so
he couldn't. That's fair. Special pleading, moving the goalposts or making up exceptions when a claim is shown to be false.
Yes.
Loaded question, asking a question that has a presumption built into it so that it can't be answered without appearing guilty.
Yes.
What's the leading cause of death among children?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a loaded question.
He was wrong.
And he was wrong about it, which is even funnier. Burden of proof, saying that the burden of proof lies not with the person making the claim, but with someone else to disprove.
Yep.
Ambiguity, using double meanings or ambiguities of language to mislead or misrepresent the truth.
I'm sure he did. But
He did. He definitely did. The gambler's fallacy, believing that runs occur to statistically independent phenomena such as roulette wheel spins. I actually think he did use this when he was talking about the correlation between the rise in guns existing and deaths. I think that falls under gambler's policy or fallacy.
That could qualify.
Bandwagon, appealing to popularity or the fact that many people do something as an attempted form of validation.
I don't know if he used it in this one, but it's definitely a common one.
It is a common one, but I don't think he used it here.
At least in
people
that,
are like, most Americans want common sense gun laws or something like that. And yeah, if you ask the average citizen, do you want common sense gun laws? They're going to say yes.
Yeah.
But what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Appeal to authority, saying that because an authority thinks something, it must therefore be true. Yes.
Yep.
So far, we have 9 left to go through. We've been through 15.
And how many?
Just one.
And there are 2.
14 out of 15. Oh, okay.
2.
13 out of 15 so far.
Yeah, 2 that we so far think he didn't use in that. Okay, composition division. assuming that what's true about one part of something has to be applied to all or other parts of
Yeah,
it.
the number of guns
Yep.
or whatever, like more guns.
He
therefore
used that
equals
one a
more
number of
deaths
times.
or whatever.
No true Scotsman making what could be called an appeal to purity as a way to dismiss relevant criticisms or flaws of an argument. He used that one when he was talking about rights.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Genetic, judging something good or bad on the basis of where it comes from or from whom it comes from. I don't think he used that one.
What about the domestic?
Yeah,
like
when
the domestic
when
call
the
one.
when the senator was talking about the fatherless homes, Jon Stewart instantly flipped it to, so we need to spend more money on these poor areas. Just instantly, it's fatherless home. Oh, so you're talking about these poor areas where we need to put more government stuff in.
That falls under one of the other fallacies more than this. Genetic is specifically like saying because Trump said it, it's wrong. That's a genetic fallacy.
I got you. Okay.
Because it
Fair
doesn't
enough.
just because Trump
All right,
said
we'll give
something
him a
doesn't
third
necessarily mean it's wrong. But that's what that one is talking about.
He's already in the hole. We'll give him that one.
Yeah, right. Black or white, where two alternative states are presented as the only possibilities when in fact more possibilities exist.
More guns or less guns, yeah.
Yep.
Like more regulation or less regulation or whatever.
There's so many things. He used that a lot. Begging the question, a circular argument in which the conclusion is included in the premise.
Yes.
Appeal to nature, making the argument that because something is natural, it is therefore valid, justified, inevitable, good, or ideal.
What do you guys think?
I don't really think he used that one.
Okay, so he's up to 4 that he hasn't
Yep.
used.
He's up to 4. We've got 3 left.
Oh, boy.
Anecdotal, using personal experience or an isolated example instead of a valid argument.
Yes.
Yeah.
Texas sharpshooter, cherry picking data clusters to suit an argument.
This whole
No, he
video.
didn't use that
The selectively
a
edited
single
video.
time.
Or finding a pattern to fit a presumption. And last but not least, saying that a comparison or a compromise or middle point between two extremes is the truth, middle ground.
I don't think he really did that.
Nope. Which means that there are
5. How many?
5 out of, let's see, what is this? This is going to be 24.
So 19 out of 24.
Yeah. 19 out of 24.
That's 79%.
79%.
So only 80% of the time he was using logical fallacies to make his point.
And that's his idea of...
Well, and he used several of them multiple times.
Yeah.
Right. So literally almost everything he said was a logical fallacy. Almost everything he said.
And that's the selected segment they use to promote people going to Apple TV to watch the full interview, where I'm sure he doesn't use those missing 5.
Well, the
at
full
all.
selectively edited.
So the 5, to reiterate, because that's a much shorter list, is... See, was it personal incredulity? Was that the first one?
I don't recall.
I believe it was personal incredulity was our first one. I'm scanning through here real quick to make sure. Yeah, it was personal incredulity, and then it was bandwagon. Genetic. Middle ground. I'm missing one. What was the other one?
I don't remember. I wasn't keeping track.
Nature. It was
You're
appeal
the
to
one
nature.
with the
It was
list.
appeal to nature. Yep.
Yeah.
It was appeal to nature, middle ground, bandwagon, genetic, and personal incredulity. Those are the 5 that he did not use. So,
if you happen to watch, and the reason why we pulled this up is because somebody named me, M.E., commented with just a link to that video. So, without any idea of what it is exactly you want it to happen, there you go.
Yes, not only was he completely wrong, but pretty much everything he said was
You
a
got
logical
exactly
fallacy.
what you asked for,
So-
me, and there it is. That's what you get.
I mean, I usually hate dragging the logical fallacies out in arguments simply because everybody makes logical fallacies all the time. It's
almost impossible to make an argument.
Yeah, it's pretty much impossible to make an argument without some form of logical fallacy. But at the same time, what he did there was egregious. It was bad.
When it's basically 100% illogical logical fallacies.
Yeah, like he's not even trying to have a discussion. He's just baiting, and trying to tear somebody down for their opinion, and it's bullshit.
Yeah, and like I said, with the body language, Jon Stewart's body language was that of, I don't really care what you say. I'm here to get the clicks and the subscribers or whatever. And the senator's body language was, I'm here to answer questions and mend the divide on this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That's the world we live in, and it's fabulous. And we're definitely not going to run out of money in the short future.
Right?
Well, isn't that a uplifting end?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's all part of the plan. With all that, if you've got anything else you want us to look at, me or whoever you are or anyone else, please provide a little more context as to what it is exactly you want us to glean from the thing. Otherwise, you get that. Outside of that, thank you everyone for your support, and do all the subscribing and the liking and the sharing and the living.
Can you imagine those psychopaths?
Bye! Bye!
And so that's how I learned eggnog is alcoholic.
Perfect place to start our finish. And our beginning? Wait. So confused.
First shall be last, and the last shall be first.
The timeline is all warped.
Thanks, Doctor Strange.
Still haven't seen that movie.
I haven't either, and I still have basically zero desire to watch it.
Yeah, I really wanted to see it, like when I first heard about it, because I've always thought the Multiverse of Madness was awesome.
Yes, and
but then the more
WandaVision leading into it was actually pretty decent.
Yeah, the more I like saw of the trailers and stuff, the more I'm just like, nah, I'm good.
And the clips you see on YouTube and whatever, it's like
pretty much the way I am with all Marvel stuff right now.
I've seen enough of it.
I don't want to anymore.
Ant-Man and the Wasp bombed, and they're trying to say it's not because they excluded what's his face that was in the other two.
Oh, you mean Quantumania?
Yeah.
Oh, I actually like that movie.
Chlamydia?
Quantumania.
They excluded chlamydia? What is this?
There's your clap joke. It's a little delayed, but there it is.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I don't know how they managed to do that, especially if it was in the first two movies. I think we're all confused as to how this works. Wait, no. Who did they exclude from the new one?
His little Mexican friend.
Oh, what? He's not in it?
No, he's not in the third one.
Oh, there's no reason to see the movie then.
Exactly.
None.
Which is why nobody went to see the movie.
He's the only reason to watch that any of those movies.
Yeah, that's.
I thought it was great.
In fact, they could make an entire movie that is just him giving a synopsis of their entire universe for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Just summarize the
just
Marvel
him
Cinematic Universe.
Summarizing
That would be great.
And I would go watch that movie.
Then Thanos came. That was kind of
cool. I would go watch that movie twice.
Missed
Luis,
opportunity.
that's his name.
They should. 100%.
Disney, if you want to make money again, that's how.
Make Luis great again.
Make Luis great again. Yes. Precisely. Goodness. Wow. Well then.
Well then.
This is for you, Disney.
You've been judged. Barely, but you've been judged. He's barely on frame.
He's barely on frame. Is he too far to the left?
Too far to the right.
Too far to the right.
There you go.
Right here?
Yes. So if you center him between you and the camera, then he is absolutely
in
frame.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Now you've been judged multiple times.
By your own creation.
By your own creation.
Disney is saying, yeah, you disapprove of me, but you bought my plushie.
Actually, I didn't. I won this. It was free.
Oh, okay.
So
someone bought their plushie.
The only way I would own anything from the newer Star Wars trilogy would be if it was given to me for free by somebody else.
Yes.
It's the only possible way I would own anything from the new trilogy.
This is the lightsaber Rey used. Immediately throws it behind you. What'd you just do? I did what Luke did, which is what should have been done in the first place with the entire franchise.
The entire franchise.
That's my theory on why they gave C-3PO a red arm. They're like...
Because he was a communist?
I already have an action figure of C-3PO. Yeah, but do you have him with the red arm?
True.
Don't need him with a red arm. He never had the red arm.
The sequels don't exist.
I'm so glad they stopped after episode 6.
That is what I choose to believe also.
The sequels never happen.
You know the greatest part about stopping after episode 6? That means that both Rogue One and Solo still happened. Which Solo is controversial in that, but hey, you know what? We're still we're now counting the prequels as good Star Wars movies. So
they did do that. You know, Jar Jar's not so bad.
Jar Jar's not so bad. It's not so bad.
Give us more Jar Jar. That's fine. Yeah. There wasn't enough Jar Jar in the prequels.
The problem is that they took Jar Jar, they made him worse, they made him a female, and they made him Asian.
Oh.
And then they made her stop the hero. I was saving you, you idiot. You moron. You've killed us all.
You've killed us all.
Because of her, Luke had to die.
I speak.
The ability to speak
does not make you intelligent.
Luke glares at Joe Biden. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, I think so. We can move on from there.
Move along.